If I had to start over with no experience, no confidence, and only had 1 hour a day to learn to code, I'd still make it. And in this video, I'll show you exactly how I'd do it step by step based on what I've learned within the 8 years of being in the tech industry. Because let's be honest, most people don't fail at coding because they're not smart enough. They fail because they burn out, jump around, or think they need 8 hours a day of coding to get anywhere. But that's simply not true. Let me show you why. So I know what you all may be thinking. 1 hour a day, that is absolutely nothing. There's so much to learn. However, if you're consistent, that's 7 hours a week or 30 hours a month. If you really think about it, that's equivalent to an entire college course every couple months, but without the debt. The problem is most people waste their learning time. They scroll, they jump from course to course, tutorial to tutorial, subject to subject. So I built a tight structure that makes every minute count. So here is the first part of this structure. The first 10 minutes, you want to review what you did yesterday. Why? Because repetition is always going to beat cramming. You do not need to focus on moving so fast that you remember bits and pieces. The key is that you need to focus on retaining the information that you've learned. Because if you have to continuously go back and relearn or look at things, then that takes more time in the long run. So I'd spend about 10 minutes rewatching a video I saw yesterday, or rewriting a piece of code from memory, or explaining a concept to myself out loud or with someone else. If you have someone else, explain that to them from yesterday. And it would sound something like, for a for loop, it works like this until this condition is false, such and such and such, right? Obviously, you can get as detailed as you want, but the fact that you are able to recite it and know it, that actually leads your brain into really cementing the concept. That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to learn for loops one day and then have to come back and have to keep coming back and jumping back. What does a for loop do? We're not trying to do that. We're trying to just focus. While we're focused on that subject or concept, focus, retain it, store it here, move on. That's how you become more efficient in learning. And by doing this simple review, it makes your brain go, oh, this matters. That's how your long-term memory is built. So part 2, and some people may disagree, but honestly, what I've seen is trying to learn multiple different things in a day, especially when you're new to it, and just do the opposite effect and have you scrambled. So I would focus on one thing a day. Now, when we move into this new stuff, it can get a little tricky. You must resist the urge to learn 5 to 6 things at once because you think you have grasped that first concept. Just pick one concept, one lesson, stick to it. This could be maybe how a function works. This could be maybe what is an API, and you want to stick to that, and you want to play around with that in your editor. What happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? What happens? But you want to stay within that same thing. So for example, the function, what if I return this? What if I return that? What if this is false? What if I create an error? But still studying that same concept of the function or API or whatever. I would also stick to one source. So what do I mean by this? YouTube, Free Code Camp, the Odin Project. Pick your poison. Whichever one it is, stick to one source only. I was a YouTube University guy, so my one source was always YouTube. That doesn't have to be it for you. If there's one that you like, pick it, but stick with it. So if there is something that you get stuck on, write it down and come back to it later. You don't have to master this one new thing in 20 minutes. Just get familiar. Now, the next 20 minutes, what you're gonna want to do is, and this is where a lot of beginners go wrong, they wanna binge tutorials and learn something when they're just passively looking at a screen while also scrolling on their phone or doing whatever. Do not binge tutorials. You need to build. That's where a lot of beginners go wrong. So for the next 20 minutes, I take what I just learned and build something tiny. And I mean tiny, right? That could be something like the to-do list in HTML, JavaScript, whatever you're learning. A simple form that maybe saves to some type of mock database. It doesn't have to be a production database or anything like that. A function that calculates tips, be a function that calculates mortgage, interest, whatever. Just something small. And it can even be something like what I did back in the day, in a Python script that renames files or deletes certain files. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to work. And this is where you start building the confidence and you stop feeling like an imposter. And then you start thinking, oh wow, I actually built that. What that will do is it will trigger your mind into wanting to do more of that. In the last 10 minutes, you're going to want to reflect and write things down. I used to skip this part and it was a huge mistake. I actually think that writing things down or saving stuff for later is one of the most underrated things in coding. So things like, what did I actually learn today? What confused me? What do I need to revisit tomorrow? What terms did I Google today? Or what terms do I need to Google? You don't need anything fancy, no Notion templates. That's a distraction. You get all caught up in trying to set up this template. Bruh, just open any doc, Word doc if you have it, Notepad if you have it, and just brain dump, right? Because when you reflect, you make your patterns visible. You'll start seeing what topics that you either always put on your list or where you keep getting stuck in the same parts. And that is very telling on what you actually need to focus your time in to learning and grasping before you move on to the next thing. And it also shows what you're actually getting good at. So most people who quit coding just lacked a system. Not because they weren't smart enough, because they lacked a good, straightforward system. It's not about working harder, it's about being deliberate when you are working or learning. 1 hour of focused learning will always beat 5 hours of scattered efforts every single time. And the truth is, you don't need more time. You need a better plan. So now that I'm working full time, have a family, constantly doubt myself about how, I'm gonna learn this, where's my time to fit in. I'm thinking about doing a new series on where I take you from essentially me learning a whole new programming language all the way to applying for jobs and hopefully getting hired in a software engineering role. I will be using a lot of this stuff that I have here because I am limited on time. So not only will I be saying to do this, I will also be practicing preach. If I can do it, you definitely can do it. I'm gonna leave a printable version if you just need something concrete to like hold or have on your computer of this plan. You check the description. I made it in there, wrote some up real quick, and you can just keep that and follow that, and if it works for you, just like the video, subscribe to the channel. Love, peace, and chicken grease. On the next one.